What's good, my people? Flash Speaks back for another video, man. First, I'd like to give a shout out to all the people who supported the channel whatsoever, man. We've grown exponentially over the last few months, especially since the James Harden came to the Sixers, man, and I've been running my mouth about that ever since. So anyway, man, you know what we do here, man. We like to comment on these different shows and their different takes, man, and drop takes that us, regular viewers, man, who watch these shows, who they like to analyze the players, and to me, I like to analyze them, man. They like to grade the players, I like to grade them. That's how we do. But here, this is about first things first. The Nick Wright show. Here he has Chris Broussard and Bucher on. Not Bucher, my man, what's the other guy? Wilds. Yeah. Sorry about that. So what they're talking about is Joel Embiid. This was off of his 44.17 rebound, 5-block performance against the Cleveland Cavaliers the other night. And the MVP race narrowing down. And Joel Embiid's feelings about it. They are going to talk about it, and I found their comments interesting, so I'm going to chime in. All right?
A big night for Joel Embiid. 44 points, 17 boards, as the Sixers came away with a 112-108 win in Cleveland yesterday. And while many have Embiid sitting comfortably atop their MVP rankings, the Sixers big man, not so sure. He's got doubts. Take a listen.
If it happens, great. If it doesn't, I don't know what I had to do at this point. At this point, I feel like, they hate me. So, and it's cool. And, that's always been kind of like my career in Philly. And I feel like in Philly, you always felt like, you always have to do more to kind of, I don't know why, but that's always the feeling that I've always had, that, you have to do more than the others. The standard for, guys in Philly or for me is different than the standard than everybody else.
Before they even talk about it, I'm not going to say Joel Embiid is right or wrong here, but what I will say is this is probably his honest feeling about the situation, and it probably stems from him not winning last year. Honestly, throughout the season last year, Joel Embiid was the leading vote getter and candidate for MVP. And then he is struggling with a meniscus problem with his knee, which he ended up playing on throughout the whole of the playoffs. But he ended up missing certain games. And then they used this as a reason to not give him the MVP and to give it to Nikola Jokic, who won last season. And he probably still has lingering feelings about that. That happened. And then this year, for the majority of the season, I would say he was considered MVP. And now all of a sudden, though he's not hurt and he's still playing, it looks like they're going to give it to someone else in his view. I don't know what they're going to do. Personally, I really don't care. I don't value the MVP award as much as many do because of the fact that it's something that is in the hands of beat writers and reporters and media people who I do not view as experts of the game. I believe that the MVP award was much more valuable and much more valid when it was in the hands of the players during the time when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won his 6 and others. All right, but here they go.
I feel like that went downhill fast. I don't know what I have to do, and then I feel like they hate me. Broussard, what do you make of Embiid's comments?
Joel, he was just rambling. He just didn't know what he was talking about. All right. First of all, the standard in Philly isn't higher. Ask Dr. J, MVP in Philly. Ask Moses Malone. Ask Allen Iverson. They all went.
All right. Dr. J won it, but first of all, that was 40 years ago. Okay, we're talking about in 1980. All right, in years like that. If Joel Embiid is talking about the feelings towards Philly, he's talking about recent history, obviously. Now, he does have a point with Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson did win it in 2001. All right.
MVPs in Philadelphia.
AI, yep.
And hopefully Embiid will win one. Okay? And certainly nobody hates him. I like him a lot. I think he's got a great personality. I love his game. And as you guys know, less than 2 weeks ago, he was firmly atop my ballot. But Joel,
firmly atop the ballot doesn't mean anything whatsoever. What matters is what it comes down to. And also the problem with a couple of weeks ago is that what it implies is that the goalpost just changes, constantly changes. How are you firmly at the top earlier in the season and then all of a sudden you're not, especially if there isn't a major drop in a winning percentage, nor a major drop in points? I think this is what Embiid more so talks about. He doesn't see the big difference in what he was doing, what he's doing now compared to what he was doing then, to all of a sudden drop.
Well, what do I do? I must give you 2 phrases, Joel. Dunk the ball and take the shot.
Oh.
Because this race is so close with Giannis, with Embiid, with Nikola Jokic, and you can throw Nick's guy Luka in there. It's so close that little things matter. I often say this with the GOAT conversation, guys, or when we're doing all-time rankings. You nitpick. And certainly it doesn't all come down to one game or one player or whatever. But when
Well, you are making it about one game and one play. All right? We can talk about the Nikola Jokic situation. There was actually a game in November, and many people forget about it. I mean, they like to talk about the game that just happened with the Sixers in Denver. But there was a game back in November when Joel Embiid didn't play. And the Sixers destroyed the Denver Nuggets, led by Tyrese Maxey. All right? So that game doesn't hurt Nikola Jokic. But this game, but the game recently against Denver, where Joel Embiid really on the stat card outplayed Nikola Jokic by all accounts. Nikola Jokic got most of his points against DeAndre Jordan. Also, he was helped by his backup center, DeMarcus Cousins, who made 3 timely 3-pointers because Joel Embiid probably didn't respect his 3-point percentage, whatever it was, and but that hurts Embiid. That's the thing. If the MVP race is a year-long thing, why does the game back in November does not hurt Jokic, whereas games hurt you now? I think that's the thing. And then with Giannis, we could talk about, okay, Giannis won the last game Milwaukee won, but right before the trade, before picking up James Harden, Joel Embiid destroyed the Milwaukee Bucks by scoring 40-some-odd points, where Giannis scored 17 points. So the problem that Embiid is having is that you don't care anything about that game, where Giannis scored 17 points and Embiid scored 40, but all you care about is the last game. That's the problem.
Embiid met up with Giannis with seeding implications on the line, and he had a chance to win that game. First of all, Giannis outplayed him. This was just, a week ago. And then Embiid at the end of the game got the rebound, had a chance to tie the game with a dunk, and he went up meekly, rushed a layup that Giannis blocked. So your competition made the game-winning play, and you failed to make the game-winning play. Hubie Brown, I know, was pulling his hair out. Big man, dunk the ball. All right, nobody.
All right, now we're gonna add a little bit of context to this. At the time when I watched the game, I felt the same way Chris Broussard felt that Embiid should dunk the ball there. But Embiid, when we saw the post game, he explained he had 1.9 seconds to get the shot up. And I think his concern was that if he winds up to dunk the ball, he might possibly, the time may have possibly ran out on the game. Whereas if he just throws up the layup, he thought that was quicker. That's actually what his thinking was in those split seconds when he did that. It was the wrong move, obviously, as Giannis got the block. And it just looks bad. Okay, but that was his thinking at the time. Embiid has plenty of dunks. It's not like he's a soft player or something like that. So hopefully they're not making that argument. But what you could say is at that particular moment, maybe he didn't make the right judgment within those split half a seconds that you get.
He was going to stop that. That's number one. And then go back a couple of weeks before that, Nick, and Nikola Jokic comes to town. He might win it. There's a lot of indications that Jokic could win it. And at the end of the game, Philly down 3. Jokic is guarding Embiid, backing off, giving him like 6 feet. Embiid's a very good three-point shooter, 36%, 3 for 3 from the arc that game. Instead of taking the shot like he would have done in the third quarter. Yes, I'm saying that. He instead passed it to George Yang in the right or one of the corners, left corner. Yang was 2 for 10 from 3 that game. He's a role player. He bricked it. All right, so those.
All right, yeah, that's fine. But I still think it's just kind of stupid, right? Because George Niang is the 3-point specialist on the team. He's at 40%, and Embiid, though he's a good 3-point shooter, he's not as good as George Niang normally. So passing it to George Niang, which is something he would actually do in the third quarter too, to say he would definitely shoot it in the third quarter is ridiculous. But whatever the case may be, it didn't work out. But like I said, to put that situation, to pick and choose between situations and say, this situation is more important than any other situation. Like, for example, when Jokic lost to the Sixers early in the season, doesn't count against Jokic, is the problem Embiid has.
I mean, you're nitpicking, but when it's this close, it comes down to big plays, and Embiid didn't make them, and that's why
Why does it come down to big plays? When has this ever came down to big plays in the past? When did it ever come down to big plays in the past? And when was it ever considered just super close between 5 players?
Giannis, not so much Jokic, but Giannis ahead of Embiid because Giannis made the big plays, in other games too. And Embiid didn't.
But here's the problem, bro.
Now, Nick is about to go into something I think is very important. This is one of the greatest takes Nick has had. And I'm not even going to... before we go into that, I just want to say, personally, I really don't have an issue with Joel Embiid not winning it. Like I really do, because like I said, I care more about the championships. That's what I'm going to look at, and that's what I'm going to judge Joel Embiid off of. MVP, like I said, because it's in the hands of people like Broussard and others, I really don't value it that much because I see what they're working off of. They don't give a damn about what Joel Embiid did in October, November, December, January. What they're caring about is what's happening right now. All right? Like, how can you clearly be ahead weeks ago and not be ahead now? It doesn't seem like to me that, they're working off of anything. If it's a year award, then you should judge how many player of the month a person got, how many player of the weeks a person got. That's what one should do. But when it's just a recency bias type of thing, then, I would say, just turn it up the last month of the season and just rush yourself the rest of the year. I mean, because that's pretty much what Giannis did. All right? But when we look at the MVP situation, if Embiid doesn't win, okay, he doesn't win. However, what I don't understand is why Giannis is clearly ahead why Jokic is clearly ahead in terms of people. When Jokic, he does not have the best record in his division, though he does carry a team that people consider to be subpar. I don't necessarily agree. To me, the biggest proof that a team is good is the team winning. I don't believe one guy carries anybody. I think that's a bullshit narrative that people portray, and they say because he doesn't have the big names, those guys aren't good. Those guys have to be good for them to win. It's just the bottom line. You can't tell me Bones Highland isn't good. You can't tell me that Barton isn't good. You can't tell me that Aaron Gordon and these guys aren't good players. They're obviously good players. All right. Same with Joel Embiid before James Harden came. I mean, the narrative would be, the other guys aren't good, this and that. I don't believe that. I believe Tobias Harris is good. I believe Maxi's good. I believe Matisse is good. I believe Niang is good. These guys have to be good in order to put yourself in position to win the division that you're in. All right. But what I don't get is why Jokic is ahead of. We take Embiid out. Why is Jokic ahead of Giannis, for example? For what? What is he doing that Giannis isn't doing? Why is he ahead of Devin Booker? Devin Booker, all his team does is win 60 games. I don't care that the team, wins games, when he's not there. Okay, they have a good system, they have a good coach. It doesn't take away from the fact that he's the best player on the best team. I don't understand why Jokic is ahead of Luka Doncic, for example. What is he doing that Luka isn't doing? One could argue that Luka Doncic actually has less talent with him than Jokic has, and Luka Doncic's team has a better record than Nikola Jokic's team. What is it about Nikola Jokic that makes these people vote for him, that makes him just a constant guy in the win? And I understand that, he puts up outstanding numbers. Now, Jokic is always going to put up outstanding numbers because his numbers are a product of the style of basketball that he plays. Right, a guy is going to have a lot of assists if he passes the ball a lot. A guy's going to get a lot of rebounds if he knows what he's doing. I commend his rebounding ability. I commend his scoring ability, but the assists are a product of the offense that he's in and, the way he plays.
And as a voter, I'm surprised you don't know this. It's not about big plays. It's not about winning. It's about who the robots tell us to vote for. And Wilds, I'm going to unite you with me on this because of your fear of sentient robots, which are just smart computers. And Brew has said something to me a couple times off the air that I didn't know about. This was before, when I was in, honestly, grade school, about that back in the early 90s, IBM used to give out their MVP.
Oh, yeah.
And Brew, who won it every single year? You told me it was David Robinson. And the reason was because whatever formula they had really overvalued rebounding and efficiency. And efficiency is super important, but the algorithm was a little off, so it super overvalued those two things where he was great. And David Robinson's an all-time great player, but every year they had him as the best player in the league. Well, that exact same thing is happening right now with the smart people numbers with Nikola Jokic. So I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna do here. I'm gonna give you 5 advanced stat categories that Jokic leads the NBA in. And they all seem because very close is Giannis and Embiid and Luka. So you're like, oh, they're good stats. But then you see the fly in the ointment. So here is win shares. We can show it to you right now. Win shares. And a player, Mitchell Robinson, win shares. Those sound important. Well, they say Mitchell Robinson's better than LeBron, Steph, and Luka. Maybe they're slightly overvaluing rebounding and field goal percentage. Can we have another advanced stat category that Nikola Jokic is leading the entire with? Offensive box score plus minus. Well, who would you rather have on offense? Kevin Love or Devin Booker, DeMar DeRozan, Chris Paul? I don't know. The computers tell me Kevin Love. All right, what about on the other side of the ball? Defensive box score plus minus, where the computers tell me Jokic's the best defender in basketball. Would you rather have Okiki from Wild's beloved Magic or Jason Tatum, DeAndre Ayton, or Kevin Durant? I don't know. The computers say the Magic are as frisky as Wild say. What about VORP? Value over replacement player. Jokic is number 1. Would you rather have Fred VanVleet this year, who's been good, or Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, or again DeMar DeRozan? And then a stat I've always liked, PER. However, again, it's overvaluing rebounding. Would you rather have Montrezl Harrell this year? Montrezl Harrell! Or Jason Tatum, Steph Curry, or Devin Booker? So that is Jokic's entire case, and he's going to win it. His entire case, Wilds, is...
And this is my issue with those numbers as well. Now, I'm sure you're going to have those stat geeks come on here. Well, they think they're stat geeks. I don't know. They think they're smarter than other people and everything else. We all probably either sucked in math or did the same thing in math. But the game is never going to become that for me. Seriously, it's just never going to become that. I played as a kid, and it's never going to be about that for me. It's always going to be about, what I actually see you doing out there. Now, when it comes to rebounding, I do value rebounding a lot. I do. So I don't really have a problem with rebounding being valued like that. But that's the problem. It'll tell you that, the player is more efficient, like Montrezl Harrell over Jason Tatum, Steph Curry, Devin Booker, when we know he's nowhere near those guys. And like Nick Wright is saying here, and I couldn't argue it better than he did. That's the problem that you face with that. If you're going to go off of just player efficiency and, those types of things, those types of readings, over other things.
The computers tell me I'm an idiot if I don't vote for him. And I'm sitting here saying, okay, that's fine. Is it possible your beloved computers are flawed? That it's not Deep Blue playing Kasparov? That maybe your algorithms, which were made by humans, not computers, overvalued certain things? Because at the top of those metrics, it's like, oh, it's all the best players in basketball and Jokic is better than them. But then you realize it's not Jokic's fault, but what he is particularly good at, which is he doesn't take a lot of shots, so his field goal percentage off the charts, and he's an exceptional rebounder in addition to being a transcendent passer. That he's getting a boost from it, and he's going to win another one of these things. So I don't mind Embiid being frustrated. I'd be frustrated too. Even though my vote would be Giannis or Luka, I don't mind Embiid being frustrated, Wilds.
Okay, so Broussard, I think, Nick, first of all, I think you did.
That's the thing. And I think Luka Doncic is a valid argument. I think Luka Doncic, I would put him before Jokic as well. But, like, for example, the show where these guys don't have a consistent barometer that they're judging from, you know, Luka Doncic just recently, last time the Sixers played Dallas, he lost to the Sixers, right? So what are we going to do? Okay, say, well, Embiid, he beat Luka Doncic, you know, but they lost to Jokic's team, you know, but they split with Giannis's team. Like what are you really judging based off of? It's just the goalposts, who knows what it is. The goalposts is here sometimes at the 50-yard lines, at the 20-yard line sometimes it's in the stands with the damn fans. That's the problem with it for me.
An excellent job. And when you ever want to be a lawyer, the basketball lawyer field is quite small. Although Adam Silver, maybe don't try to go for an MVP vote, friend. Go for the whole thing. All right. I think Embiid has a fair point of like, what do I need to do? And we talked about it last week, that a lot of Embiid's argument is how he handled the Ben Simmons situation, which is at the same time like a very fuzzy thing. Like I don't have a visual of it. It certainly doesn't hit you emotionally like, yes, he didn't blow it up. It's very odd. I almost think that he needs his Heisman moment. And I pulled some, like, my favorite Heisman moment was Johnny Manziel against Alabama. You watch it, it's like, that's your Heisman Trophy winner right there. Do you think that if Embiid came out and scored 50 or 60, that would move the meter? Because Doc Rivers on the record said, I'll read this quote, I almost want to tell him to try to go get 50 or whatever, win the scoring title. And he said, only if it comes to me. That's the only way I want to win anything. So I thought that was a really cool answer. It also just shows where he's at as a player. I don't think it's a cool answer. I think it's the right answer. It's certainly not the cool answer. The cool answer is like, yeah, you know what? I do need a David Thompson game. I do need an Iceman game. I do need a David Robinson game when I go out and get 60. If he did that, Broussard, wins the scoring title, even on when you know they're feeding him the ball, would that move the meter for you and maybe reconsider your Giannis vote and have put Embiid over Giannis?
Doubtful, because it's so close. And here's the thing, and I know I pointed out the two incidents against Giannis and Jokic. And
see, this is the thing with the close thing too. Like, it shouldn't be close, right? Like, what would make it not close? What does somebody have to average 40, whereas everyone is averaging 30? Does someone have to average a triple-double, right? Like, for me, if I'm going to be honest, the only player, in my opinion, that it could be not close for is Devin Booker, because he's on the team that has by far and away the best record. They're the only team that's going to win 60 games this year, I believe. I'm not sure if Memphis is close to that or not, but I think Booker in there by far and away. So that's the only guy that has something that stands out, right? So what do you mean? You know, it's just so close, so I'm going to judge based on who won this game or won that game. It shouldn't be. It should be who was consistently winning throughout the season. Like, who was player of the month here, add those up. You know, something that has some consistency to it, other than whimsically being in the hands of voters who feel that this person should get it over that one.
And that is important. Those incidents plus Giannis, you know, what he did this past week in some big games, Those kind of moved him ahead of Embiid for me. But the bottom line is this, guys. Embiid has played tremendously. It's just such a close race. That's what it comes down to. And if Embiid wins it, I don't think anybody can yell bloody murder.
All right, guys, that looks like that's the end of that. So really, I wish Embiid just didn't give a damn and would just focus 100% on winning the championship. That's what I want him to do, because the real award is Finals MVP. That's what I want him focusing on. This right here is because there's really almost no doubt when it comes to Finals MVP. This here, man, is just a bunch of, guys. Who cares about what Chris Broussard thinks? Seriously. And I wish Embiid really looked at it that way, man. But I know a lot of times these, a lot of foreign players, international players, when they come over, like Rudy Gobert, I remember him crying, when he didn't win when he didn't make the All-Star team and stuff like that. And I think Embiid has a little bit of that in him, and I really wish he didn't, man. But that's all I got, man. That's all I got, guys, man. Till next time, man. Peace. I'm out.